Yeah. Okay, or a squared plus b, it could equal, okay. What? Oh, okay. Yeah, right. So whichever comes first, and then so yeah. All right, and all right, and squares. What is that? What the heck is that? That's not even a shape. It's... Hey guys, you caught me phoning up on a bit of math, getting a bit, just trying to get a bit better at it all over again. Because we are in a position right now where, well, let's face it, we are at home learning again. And that's not a big deal. It's not a problem. We're also going to have our teachers coming at us on video, and as I'm sure there'll be assignments sent home and all the rest of it too. It's all good, it's all important, and it'll all work out, I'm sure. But still, if somebody asks me a question and I'm not sure how to answer it, I want to be prepared. Thank you very much. So I'm putting up on the one thing that I'm not always the best at, math. And it's not that I can't do math, it's just more the idea that sometimes you need to refresh your memory when it's not something that's your expertise. And you can't be afraid to ask questions about it. Can't be afraid to look at math and just say, you know what, I just don't remember how to do that, so I better just, I better just go check. You know what I mean? And it reminds me of some of our readings for today. As a matter of fact, in the middle of all of the things that I'm sure we're worried about, I mean, we all have things that we're a little concerned about now that we're back under level 5 and we're all locked down again and we're away from the familiar that we had gotten accustomed to. I'm sure that some of us are saying to ourselves, well, I guess we're just going to have to wait and see how this goes. And some more of us are even a bit more frightened or concerned or scared because before we had friends and neighbors and loved ones who we were worried about, and now we got to worry about ourselves, we got to worry about each other, we got to try our best to stay safe like we used to, and like we were trying to now. But something I want you to think about, something that came to me every time I was reading our scriptures for this week, was there's a line. Because here we are in the Transfiguration Sunday, or at least that's the Sunday we're celebrating. It's the last Sunday of what's called Epiphany. We're getting ready for Lent. So we're going from a time of learning to a time of giving stuff up. So look what happened. We're starting to give things up already. Ugh. So anyway, in the Gospel of Mark, which I have here in front of me, the verse that kept coming out at me, it was talking about the boys were up on the hillside with Jesus, a hillside. He was off praying, and Peter, James, and John were with him. And then all of a sudden, a cloud descended on the hillside like a fog. We all know what that looks like. And then all of a sudden, they were looking around, and there were 2 other guys there with them. And the other 2 guys were there. They were Moses, not me, and Elijah, who we hear about in our Old Testament reading today. He was an important prophet. He was a really big deal back in his day in the Old Testament. And Moses, well, come on, you know who Moses is. Not me. The 10 Commandments guy. I'm pretty sure you can remember who that is. Very important parts of the church. It's the law and the prophets being represented right there with Jesus. And that was supposed to basically say that he was a big deal too. That Jesus was now them coming together in one person, which is amazing. But the verse that kept sticking out to me was, Peter is there and he says to Jesus, Rabbi, it's good for us to be here. Let's make 3 dwellings. So 3 like little things to recognize that this was an important place, like a tourist attraction. Let's make 3 places for you to live on this hillside so that we can come back and remember this place, how important it is. 1 for Elijah, 1 for Moses, and 1 for you. And this verse 6 that sticks out, and here's what I want you to remember. He did not know what to say, for they were terrified. A lot of us are in that situation right now. Even though this is a time where we are thankful for being enlightened, even though the time of Epiphany is all about that, even though we're all giving thanks for the fact that we know at this time in Scripture, like Jesus is making himself known to everybody and he's getting to know folks and he's starting his journey and all that. Even then, Peter was terrified, wasn't sure what to ask, wasn't sure what to say. Because in the middle of all this, he's sitting there just kind of going, you know what, I'll just say something. We all have moments like that, don't we? Those could be really difficult to know what to say, or we're afraid to ask a question. This whole reason why I'm getting my math on over there, trying to figure out how, if I do get asked a question, what to answer, how to say it, how to speak, what to ask, what to say. It's very difficult. And we can be nervous about answering. We can be nervous about knowing what to say. Sometimes that can be even when you're in class and you're holding up your hand and you're trying to say, well, miss, I don't understand that. Could you explain it further? I mean, we don't have that opportunity right now. So many of you now are going to be learning from home, and you won't have the opportunity to hold up your hand and the teacher basically answer you as best he or she can. And I mean, yes, you will still be able to do that online through Google Classroom and stuff, but it's a lot quicker and a lot easier to ask right when you're in person. And it can be concerning. Same thing goes for the whole COVID situation we're under right now. A lot of us are afraid to say anything. A lot of us are afraid to try and answer anything. A lot of us are afraid to ask any questions, or we're the opposite. We're used to this so much that we want to ask all the questions and we want answers, even though we might not like what the answers are. So here we are in the middle of all this, but we are concerned. We're terrified. And it's okay to be, because there's a lot of uncertainty going on right now. But with that in mind, we're a bit more prepared, aren't we? And that's something we have to take a lot of solace in, a lot of comfort in, is that we are a bit more prepared this time. That leads me to the Old Testament today. In the Old Testament, we hear about Elijah and Elisha. Yes, they're two different guys. One is the prophet I was telling you about, the guy who's really famous in the Old Testament. He's the only person who went to heaven and didn't have to die first to do it. Yeah. God called him up on a chariot of fire, which sounds really awesome, right? But he didn't die. He was transported to heaven all by himself like he was. And that's why it was so important to see him on the hillside, because he was still alive, and people have been waiting for him to return for ages. That's why they asked if Jesus was Elijah. That's why every time they got together for Passover meal, that big meal that they have that we remember at Easter time, for Good Friday and Maundy Thursday, we remember it every year. And every time we do, there's always a seat left for Elijah, waiting to see if he was going to come back, because he didn't technically die. He just went to heaven as he was. So for Jesus to show up, a lot of people thought, oh, well, here he is. But anyway, so Elisha was his protege, the guy who was going to take over after him, you know. And here they are walking along, and he's leaving him with a lot of information left over, like just the things that he had to know to get ready. And as they were getting ready, and as they were doing things, and as he was about to pass on his mantle, literally, which is where that comes from, the idea of, you know, taking on something that somebody else has started, passing of the mantle. That's literally where this comes from. So here they were, walking alongside some water, and he struck the water with his mantle, and it let them walk to the other side, onto the dry ground. So a new path was being forged. And right there, Elisha was talking to him along the way, so Elijah was getting him ready to take over. And Elijah asked him, tell me what I could do for you before I am taken from you. And Elisha, the protege, says, please let me inherit a double share of your spirit. And even though Elijah said that's a hard thing for me to give, but if it will be granted to you. And that's it. So if you watch me being taken away, it will be granted to you. If you're here, and this is an important thing, because Elisha wanted to make sure that he had everything he needed so that he could take over for Elijah. And that's important, because he wanted to be prepared. And so are we. Believe it or not, we are prepared much more than we were when we started out almost a year ago. It's been about 11 months since we had to do this before, shut down and all the rest of it. And in that time, we've taken the time to learn, to know, to grow, to be able to be prepared for these things. And that doesn't make it any easier per se, but it means that we don't have to fret as much. Yes, we need to be concerned because we got variants and we got other things we have to worry about, but now we know what to do. Now we know how to act. We have masks, and we know we have to wear them all the time. We have rules and regulations already put in place. We don't have to make them up as we go along or invent them. They're already here. We were already prepared to shut everything down if we had to, just to make sure everybody's safe. More importantly, though, on top of all of that, we recognize, too, just how quickly and how easily days can change. Things can change. So even when we are confronted with something different, shocking, or uncertain, and we have to say something, We're not just grabbing at straws and guessing. Like Elisha, we're prepared. When we take up the thing to do again, like we're doing right now, we're more ready. Like you guys already have ways and means and know what to do and what to expect now that we're stuck home again. And as such, we know what we can do to make this curve flatten out right once again, and hopefully do it quickly. But that doesn't make it easy. So when Peter spoke up and said he didn't know what to say because he was terrified, a lot of us are in that boat. But I hope that even in the midst of being concerned and terrified, you take a bit of comfort, because the very next thing that happened was a large voice of God, spoke out of the cloud and said, "This is my son. Listen to him." There are people out there who know what's going on. There are people out there who are trying to help us get through this, and they are speaking up. They are telling us to listen, and we are. And because we listen, we don't have to worry about saying something silly or stupid or foolish or ignorant or terrified or anything, because there is no such thing as a bad question. To ask is to be prepared. So in all of this, I want you guys to be prepared. Ask any question you want, because it will bring you the security and the comfort you need to have. But know that there are people looking out for us, looking over us, and already ahead of us, who are prepared and ready to make sure things are all right. So even though this time ahead of us is still a lot to do, even though I got to relearn math just to make sure that I know what I'm talking about in case somebody asks me something, I want you guys to know that if there's anything you need, ask. If there's any comfort you seek, seek it. Don't be afraid. Don't be terrified. Speak, and there will be a voice to comfort you, and hopefully bring you the double share of blessing you need.
Can you help me with something?
All right, I'll be right there.
Okay.
Remember, guys, there's no such thing as a bad question, but just make sure you're prepared for it and take comfort in those around you. Stay safe, pray safe, and I'll talk to you next week.